Yo, 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 Matt.
Bobby, get your adverb here.
What is what is going on, my friend? It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It is.
Christmas week, Matt. I know we're going to go today, and then we're going to say sayonara, enjoy your families, and be back on the 28th.
Yeah,
Are
we'll
you
be
all
back.
done with your Christmas shopping?
Yeah, I'm always done early. Christmas shopping, it's like I kind of go with I'm a very pragmatic shopper. I don't like to shop unless I know what I'm going for. Otherwise, I end up with so many things that nobody wants. And then everybody's disappointed because I buy all those things that nobody wants and I spend all the money. So I really try to understand, like I don't know what I'd get you if we were exchanging gifts.
Well, for sure, you just replaced my iPotato. I mean,
I would probably replace your Android device for sure. However, I also might get you like a paint by numbers set. I don't know.
I don't need paint by numbers, Matt. Thank you for the cue. There's a gentleman I follow on Twitter. His name is Franklin Fitch, and we're going to have him on a segment, Matt, because he's fully involved in the crypto side of things, and they call it minting art. So it resides then in the digital world, and you can get paid for your art in the digital world. He said to me, though, was great. Well, first you need to make a digital image of the piece of art and then mint it. And my response was, the only mint I know are thin and they reside in the freezers.
and they're sold by girls in brownie uniforms.
Exactly. The thin mint, by far the best Girl Scout cookie available.
Yeah. How about it? Aren't they? Although the Samoas are pretty good.
I gotta tell you, man. For me, it's like Secretariat, thin mint, like by 24 lengths.
Hey Bob, I gotta before we get into price discovery, I got a quick exercise for you, if you don't mind. I'm gonna share my screen here real quick, and I'm gonna ask you. There's a reason I'm doing this. I'm gonna ask you for your favorite Christmas song.
My favorite Christmas song. Holy shite. That is a tough one. My favorite Christmas song. I'm going to say, I got a good story for this too. I'm going to say Blue Christmas. In Chicago, Illinois.
By who though?
By Elvis.
Okay, because there's a lot of versions of it, right?
Yeah. I respect that. Right? I got a little story for you, Matt. Back in the day, in another lifetime, living in Chicago, Butch McGuire's. If you ever visit Chicago, Butch McGuire's at Christmas is a must stop. It's decorated. It's unbelievable. And when I was young, we went in there, and my buddy put $20 in the jukebox, right? When songs were like a quarter, right? And he played Blue Christmas, White Christmas, Blue Christmas, White Christmas for the entire $20.
Oh my God. Hang on one second. I got to do
this. Those
two
songs we celebrated.
Yeah. I love it.
So Spotify can make me a playlist. Is that right?
They can. And I wanted to talk about Spotify today, and thank you for doing that. But my reboot seems to be still rebooting. My Spotify machine is not behaving properly. So we'll come back to that. Let me get that set up. But Blue Christmas by Elvis Presley. Perfect. Thank you.
It'll be a blue. You gotta sing that one out of the side of your mouth, Matt. Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little thing. I gotta tell you.
Yes.
Being a trader and being a successful trader, obviously, the best time of the year are the holidays, right? Because you get to celebrate, and this is true for anybody that toils at whatever craft you toil. Please, do yourself a favor and enjoy your life. Enjoy the fruits of your labor. Man, I want to bring up a couple of graphics that, because it is the Christmas season, and it's imperative that we talk about a Christmas message, the new covenant that was born. And this is going to be a weird segue for you, maybe, because we've talked about this book, Power versus Force.
Right.
And I highly recommend the book because, as we talked before, emotions have vibrational wavelength, right? And in his book, Hawkins talks about these, and let me get out of the way a little bit, because, and I've talked about how much of the dialogue today is based on some very low energy emotions, right? Same guilt, shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear. I mean, it's the lowest level. Anger and pride are actually the two highest of the low level energies, right? And we deal so much in this low level energy of emotion. And by the way, in his book, he talks about enlightenment, a Jesus Christ kind of I don't know what's that word, state, the state of enlightenment that Christ.
We could say Christ, the Christ light, the Buddha. Buddha has his light. Muhammad had his light at his moments. So no matter what.
I mean, I just love the graphic. I love the way this guy talks about emotional energy. And if there's one thing I would wish humanity could understand is this type of graphic. And maybe in 2021, if we could all vibrate a little bit higher on the scale. Even pride, as you know, Matt, one of the 7 deadly sins is a negative vibrational energy. All right, now we get into the courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. Come on, man. And believe me, I know that as a trader, when you start dealing in those low energy feelings and vibrations, it makes it really difficult to be a profitable.
Well, so that's a good jump off. Psychology is probably 90% of the trading game. Like anybody can find a methodology that works, a good chunk of the time, and they can run with that for a long time. It's more, what is your mindset that's going to allow you to employ those things? And, at some point, and one of our members here is popping in a question. At what point, does greed overcome its use, right? There's some greed needed, there's some ego needed to be able to trade or to be a surgeon, but you also have to be able to let go to the fact that patients aren't always going to have the perfect outcomes as a surgeon, and mistakes happen, and everybody is different, so you get in there on the plumbing of Bob versus Matt, different, you could have done the same surgery on you and they come to me and it doesn't work the same way. And trades are no different. And you have to get to that acceptance. And really, there is I've said this, like there is a piece to me knowing that every trade I put on, like I've come to this point in my head where I want it to go against me. That's almost like the best thing I can have when I start a trade. So if I'm long something, it goes down $1 or $2, but that's still within the parameters of where I want to play, then I'm grateful for that. You almost have to get to that spot, because if you expect perfection in your trading, you're going to come to the bottom end of this chart here that you're showing from Mr. Hawkins, right? You're going to have this anger, this pride, all these things, that are there, this apathy, they're going to start welling up and taking over the peacefulness, the joyfulness that comes from knowing that you're not going to be perfect when you enter a trade. And that's really key, I think, for people to recognize, is that you should expect some difficulty as a trader. Like that's normal. It's not going to be perfect for you. You're never, as a 32-year participant, I've never been able to absolutely pick tops and bottoms. I try to pick areas of interest, but I've never been, and I don't know anybody that's successful that has. So I think that's that perfectionism that some strive for, and I see it from a lot of people that have these very scientific backgrounds, whether it's engineering, mathematics, because yes, there's some simple math that comes involved with trading and price discovery, but generally it's more psychology and what are the masses doing? Are they buying or selling? Are we trending up? Are we trending down? Or are we flat? These are really the 3 options that you have as traders. And these are the options that you have to play within the context. Now, within that, you're going to be imperfect. And I just, it's okay to celebrate that imperfection in all of us. And really, that's the great thing about this business, is that it really gets to the core of your emotional IQ and your awareness, because it's not me versus you, Bob, ever. It's not me versus the other players on the street. It's me versus me, the man in the mirror, every day.
Yeah, and I believe Warren was asking where does greed come in, and for me, my 2 cents on that would be it's right there with desire, greed and desire, because it's craving it, and it ends. Greed ends up in disappointment. I don't care what you say at the end of at the end of at the end of the life, if somebody's just been great, just like A Christmas Carol, like there's a huge disappointment in not being of service to people or to life in general. Anyway, it's an incredibly powerful book. I really highly recommend it. And it's apropos for the season because more than anything else, I think the New Covenant is trying to expose this, that an eye for an eye is maybe not the best way to go through life, and that these higher ideals, these higher vibrational energies. And the book is amazing. He does a lot of kinesiology testing in the book, which it blows people away when they engage in the kinesiology testing, the actual weakness that your thoughts and feelings display in your physical body. It's
Sure.
amazing stuff. Again, I can't recommend it high enough for your trading and evolutionary trading pleasure. Matt.
Yes.
There. On to Christmas. Let me share,
Okay.
Matt. Let me share because
go for it.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I've got your song here ready to roll. And I want to talk a little bit about Spotify. I've been using it, as I've said, for almost 15 years. I used VPNs over in the Euro land. To me, it was always my favorite platform. And that, now that everybody is able to use it worldwide, it still is the greatest. But what I love about it is you can tell me, hey, like I asked you earlier, and let me show you. I love Blue Christmas. And I can pull it up. And then with a real simple click, I can say, I want to go to a radio station now based upon that one song, Bobby. So now we have a custom-made list based on just that one song. You may like some of them.
I love it, Matt. And let me just tell the folks out there in Market Vitals land that we did this every Wednesday on the golf course this summer with music in tow. And it was fantastic, man. It was fantastic to build playlists off of artists, off of songs. So thank you, Elvis.
And can you see my chart now of Spotify?
Yeah. You're looking good, dude.
Okay. Hang on one second. So I want to talk a little bit about Spotify.
Which, no. Right now we're still on the Spotify itself, not the chart.
Oh, okay. Hang on one second. Let me flip screens here for you.
Hey, Matt, while you're doing that, I just want to say cheers. And we're going to talk about drinks. Bubbles are one of my favorite things. I know, I don't know about you, but huge fan of bubbles. It's morning here in Bugograd, Yugoslavia, but we're still drinking Lastrovia. Yeah.
All right.
Hey, Matt, you know what they say?
What do they say, Bob?
You can't go on an all-day bender if you don't start in the morning.
Terrible. So Spotify hit an all-time high this month. Just about a week ago here, 346. We had a little rally today. We're up $10 again. And again, we're kind of playing in this upper band of the breakout. And we keep holding, this 315 level. As long as that holds, it's okay. If it falls below that, we're going to go quickly down to 292. So I'm presenting opportunities both sides of the track, which is the way you should look at it from a trading perspective. You should be where am I long and where am I short, right? Or where am I not playing? Where do I have no interest? And this is one to me that makes clear sense. Before you get to your drink, and I'm going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk about a drink that Sammy Hagar had out on his Instagram yesterday. But Costco, which I think at times has sold Sammy's products, his tequilas and whatnot. I wanted to bring this up. We were talking about it yesterday, and
it looks terrible, by the way.
Right, and we were talking about this in Market Vitals, and this sneakily has made a run from 300 to almost 400, and now has pulled back to 360 and is teetering. Yes, Costco. So and again, kind of makes sense with the forward-looking nature of the world. Once the holidays are over, what's left for Costco? It probably gets a little slow traditionally January and February, and the market is saying that. I think we'll probably trade back here to this 320, 340 level, and even possibly if this thing continues to break, we could see, there's some holes in this profile, Bob, that really point to, a major correction back to 305, in that 320 to 280 range. Very possible for this, as it's touching right now, kind of a 50-day. That's this green line right here. So it's teetering short term. Looks more like a sell the rallies to me, and continue to sell the rallies, especially if you see a bounce up to say 370. It's trading 362, down 40 cents today. But that's it's interesting because, again, once Christmas is over, there's not a lot left for the major retailers for the next few months, especially with the continued shutdowns that this country has rolling across the rest of the nation. So just something to toss out and think about. And here was Sammy yesterday with the Red Saint, and Bob's going to go through.
So, Matt, he's pitching his own rum. So obviously, I think you could you don't have to use Sammy's rum, but his one rum, the red rum that gives it the beautiful red color, is a macadamia nut infused rum. Sounds fantastic. So it's a half a shot of red rum. I don't know where that came from. A half a shot of white rum. Daddy's not here, Mrs. Torrance. Anyway, half a red, half a white, 2 ounces of tequila, which is a Sammy Hagar thing, because he wants you to get juiced for sure.
Yeah.
1/2 orange liqueur, right? And then the juice of 1/2 tangerine and juice of 1/2 lime. Careful with the lime, by the way. If it's you can overdo lime juice in a drink pretty easily make it. You cannot drink it. It's so sour.
That's the squinchy. That becomes the squinchy mouth factor.
Yeah, it's a IBU all of a sudden. A cocktail has an international bitter unit, or as we call it on Suds Reviews, the squinchy face unit.
That's right.
And then he's rimming the glass with a little sugar, cinnamon glaze, and a little vanilla extract. And I couldn't tell how the hell he did that. The vanilla extract in water or something so it could grab.
Yeah. It got it wet, so then he put it in the sugar mix.
I wish I had the time to make one. I'm going to get to one soon. For the time being, though, it's going to be bubbles in the morning. Freaking delicious. All right, Matt, inside Market Vitals, we had a little holiday question, and it's surprising to me, by a landslide, Matt, it was tell me how to cook roast beast.
Yes.
Now listen to me.
Which roast beast is referring to the Grinch.
So
right?
I just went to the full prime rib, right? As a traditional bulletproof when it's done right, bulletproof cut of beef. It's just ridiculous how good a well cooked prime rib is. Now I haven't done this in the oven, but I've done this on the smoker. All right, and this is an awesome way to do it. Right, so oven to 500, right?
Hot.
5 minutes a pound, right? And then whatever that number is, you got to do a little math, right? You cook it at 5 minutes a pound at 500, right?
So if it's 10 pounders, 50 minutes.
Exactly. And then you turn the oven off. Just turn it off and walk away. Just walk away. I'm reminded of Road Warrior. Just walk. You walk away and you don't open the oven. Anybody opens the oven, they get a stern talking to, a timeout. I don't know. Go sit outside. Walk, barefoot in the snow. No opening the oven. This is particularly hard for traders and ADD sufferers because, they want to open the oven, right? You can't open the oven. 2 hours, if it's a 6-pound roast, 30 minutes at 500, and then let rest for 2 hours. This is from All Recipes. And I'm telling you right now, this is a great way to cook beef and a roast because it chars chars the outside, and especially with this prime rib with the fat layer on it, that gets charred up. Never a truer statement in any movie ever. You can eat your fat? Like, I will eat your charred up fat. growing up with 10 brothers and sisters, I mean, there were near death experiences.
Over the gristle?
It's like this, hit the table. I
Over the
can't recommend
gristle?
it high enough. And I do this on the smoker too. I have a Green Mountain Grill Jim Bowie, way better than the Traeger, by the way. And we're not getting greased by either one. But because the Green Mountain gets way hotter. Like, you are not getting the Traeger to 500 degrees. It's just not happening.
It's not going to happen.
That Green Mountain Grill, though, this thing goes full nuclear,
Yeah.
right? And so I've done this same type of thing with a leg of lamb. Ridiculous, right? And again,
Now you're talking my style.
and here's the only thing that you really need. You really need a meat thermometer, especially if you have sensitive people to too rare of meat. So you want to get it medium rare.
I like the look of this one because I would eat that. It's just pink enough. There's enough pink that I'll eat, but there's also the well near the top of that I love. Like,
Dude,
and I'll leave the gristle for you, by the way.
I will demolish it, dude. And
I'll leave it for you. I get it. I've had it. I used to like it when I was a kid. My heart can't take it anymore. I can't do it.
you don't have the heart for it anymore.
I don't have the heart for it. I'll die.
All right, Matt, since we got it up there, I'm just going to freewheel here for a second.
Yep.
Right? Why wouldn't we? Come on. Why wouldn't we talk about live cattle just for a second?
Yeah. Moo.
Hold on.
That was not a blue moo, by the way. That was a pretty good moo. The blue
cattle on the weekly. 2 weeks in a row now, just toying with that up momentum level. All right. Now you cattle players, if we can get a close and up momentum, but again, look how dead flat the standard deviation lines are, Matt. Dead flat. It's like, if you're on skis, you're skating. No slope whatsoever.
Again, there's uptrends, downtrends, and no trends. This is a no trend, no play for me.
I agree with you. Now let's just fractal in for a second here, talking cattle to the daily, and see if there's a different story being told on this shorter fractal. And it is a little bit, because we have expanding potentiality on these standard deviation lines. But again, this is all about closes for me, right? It's got to close on its highs to keep those bands pushing. And then not only that, tomorrow, Monday, you got to be making higher highs. Nothing goes parabolic without making higher highs, right?
Hey, Bob, I got a question for you. You're right. They don't go higher without making higher highs. What's going on with Bitcoin does it keep trading over Christmas? Does it ever take a minute off?
Matt, Bitcoin trades 24/7, 365 days a year until there's no electricity left on the planet.
So even on Christ's pseudo birthday, which is not December 25th, it's actually 9/11, if people want to do their homework.
Along with the shortest day of the year, I'm going to defer with an asterisk.
That's correct. 9/11 was Christ's, the biblical scholars. That's his birthday, which is also significant for why 9/11 happened, but nobody talks about it.
Bitcoin, Matt. Again, here for me, when there's nothing but explosive talk, right? And then the market just churns sideways. For me, this is a problem sign for me. I'm actually long a little bit, but I'm very tenuous in this position. I want to see it, like right now, we have this beautiful congestion. Perfect. It should springboard off of this.
Give me a 15-minute look at that, Bobby, because it was up earlier.
Matt, can we go 13 minutes? Because I like fibs.
Yeah, just give me expand that a little bit. Give me some room. Give me some scale.
Again, though, look how dead sideways this thing is.
Yeah. Chopping broccoli, as Dana Carvey used to say. He'll be chopping broccoli.
Chopping broccoli. I love it. All right, man, listen, what else do we got? Anything else other than please?
Well, I saw pull up Ripple again. It looks like it's coming back down. It's
know what? We need to do that because, again, no surprise to me that this was a story.
You remember when the CEO, the founder, was worth more than Zuckerberg when this thing spiked? Show us that
3-day, Matt.
I told you it's getting ugly. We talked about it 2 days ago, and again, it was at 40 cents, and now it's back. I said 30. I want to bring up my chart when you're done because I said 30 cents if you're looking for a catch the knife. It's down 30% today, Bob. Yesterday, we said it would go there.
This long term, in fact, let me do that for a second. life of the tradable. I love this little tool. You do this all the time.
Yep.
Matt, just so right back to the life of the contract point of control right there. But again, the interesting to me thing here for me is if it can't hold this area, it's going to zero.
If it can't hold 26 cents, it's going to zero. That's pretty true.
And how about talk about the collateral damage here?
And by the way, people don't think about this, but there are, just as there are equities that go to zero, and options, obviously, most go to zero. And you're holding one of those equities, Lehman Brothers.
It's got green, and I'm on a green screen, so you can't really see it. But I keep it on my trade desk. That's my Lehman Brothers stock certificate.
Yep.
From 1994, November 30th, 1994. It's wallpaper now. Yeah,
March of 08, March of 07, you probably still could have got $140 for that sucker.
Exactly.
Yeah, and crude went negative. Why can't I've said this before. If crude can go negative, why can't the S&P go negative, Bobby? What are the mechanics to that happening?
Well, here's the mechanic. The reason why crude went negative is because it was a deliverable contract.
Right.
And if you were long the contract, you actually had to either deliver or accept physical crude.
Right.
Right. So S&Ps are cash settled. You just get a Stugatz in your account.
There you go.
In fact, you get somebody he calls you and says, yeah, by the way, your S&P position, it's worth Stugatz.
Yeah.
Matt, bring up XRP and let's look at your full profile analysis.
Okay, happy to do it. One thing we talked about this just earlier in the week that it's very likely could trade down. And this, I think we just talked about it yesterday, if not Monday, but it was a pretty short period ago where we said 30 cents would be the area that I'd want to buy it. And I think we were looking at a daily chart to kind of get to that number. It's amazing, right? People don't, this stuff is not magic, but it's powerful. These magnets, you had this false breakout, as you talked about, and we're coming right back into this zone here. And we're at the top of it right now. This is basically where it broke out. And you can see it's already kind of bounced a little bit. This is the daily chart today. So we actually triggered a buy there based on that daily chart. There was somebody down there waiting to buy there at 29 cents. And, they've got a nice 10% move. They got a nice 10% move, and that's a trade. But it looks heavy still. Like there's nothing here that's saying, I want to own this. Even on the longer term charts, like I said, are coming right back to this, play zone. Maybe 25 cents if it can't hold this level here at 28. These are your levels. Like it's all the way back here to 20 cents. So not a pretty chart.
Let me just say this too, Matt, on the fundamental side, we talk about nuance always all the time in trading, right? For me, nuance and standard deviation modeling is the slope of the lines, things like that. The nuance on this story is that he sold, I think it was $350 million worth of coin through his own. I'm not sure about the exact details on this. I don't know if it was his own market making company or a surrogate market making company to the public via traditional crypto exchanges. Now they become accomplices in this fraud if they decide that this is a fraud. This is a giant problem. Like if Coinbase gets drawn into the litigation because they facilitated the illegal sale of a security and basically fleeced the public, I got to tell you, man, it's kind of like the election and the Hunter Biden story. The more you dig, the more layers there are, the more complexity there is, and the more of a shit show this thing's going to turn out to be, in my opinion.
And this is where it happened. It happened back here, and this is a weekly chart. Happened back here at the spike to 20,000 on Bitcoin back here. So this was December of 17, and this was the 1st of January. These 4 bars, we went from, basically where we are today, not even, we were at 21 cents. We went from 21 cents all the way up to the high of about 330. So that's where, that pump and dump happened. And that's probably what they're going back and exploring today, isn't it? Isn't that
Well, I
what they're?
mean, in my opinion, it's been happening the whole time.
Gotcha.
He's got a giant supply of,
And what's
what he said wasn't securities, and what the SEC and the Justice Department are saying. Hey, I'm sure they say this in their private meetings. They said, "Hey, fuck you. These are securities."
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck is this guy kidding? These are securities. They didn't put that out in the print, but I'm here to tell you that that's what's being said in the meetings for sure.
Right.
And believe me, the arrogance in some of these people is like, yeah, well, fuck you, sue me. Oh, okay. Whoops.
Yep. It's pretty crazy. I mean,
Anyway, I want to vibrate higher, Matt. Let's talk about something else.
Okay. Today, again, you're seeing kind of the names that were up yesterday. Shopify down, it was up 75. It's down 50 today. You've got Carvana was up big. We talked about that yesterday. Why? Just because it's the end of the year. Today, it's down big. Today, it's down $24. So again, crazy watching these moves, but we talk about them. I don't want to chase them. And here's what happens if you chase. You chased that shit yesterday at 292 was the high. It's back to 267 today. I mean, that's insane. Not only did we take out we made a new high yesterday, but we took out the low basically by the open today. We were already there, and we continue to go down. So, I don't know. I mean, I watch these stocks go up like this, and they also go down. So by all means, when you have these fat profits and these momentum stocks, please take the profits. QS was another one we talked about yesterday, Bob, and let me just show the screen here on Carvana. I mean, look at that. It hit 292 and basically, from there washed down. I mean, it washed down, this morning, and it's been just nothing but sellers all day. The other one that I thought was interesting, and again, we talked about Shopify, throw it up again, up 75 yesterday. And by all means, take some profits. We got $75. I mean, that's an 8% move. That's not normal. These are not normal moves. So don't be greedy, because somebody came in here and basically dumped their whole portfolio, probably included Carvana and Shopify. By these opening candles, it tells me that somebody just went, sold. I want 10 million gone. I don't care. This is as good as it's going to get. Like, give me out. There was pure selling on those two names, which is interesting. Like, you should note that these opening candles are not insignificant. Somebody literally said, I've got 1 million to sell. Take all the offers out. Take all the bids out. I'm cramming them down. And, that usually means we're going to go lower. So just
the old adage in the pit. What are you now? Yours. Well, what are you now?
I mean, this candle here is not insignificant. That's a huge number. I mean, 1274 to 1235, somebody unloaded millions of shares right there. And, it's crazy, like, that you see these moves. And that's, again, a nuance that you need to pay attention to. As far as everything else, we're drifting up in the indices. Every asset is one. We're just kind of grinding up. I said we trade to 3,700 by Christmas. We're there. We're sitting right at it. And we opened at 95. So we're up 5 points during the day. So everything happened overnight. We tickled down. We tickled the 3650 level overnight while everybody slept, and that happened, right at the at the Asian Open yesterday. And then we just continued to grind since then. And we're just hanging up here at the top. Again, nothing's happening today. There's no trading going on. You can tell by the volumes are muted. The volatility is muted. So don't create things that aren't there. On the green side, you've got another new high in Lemonade, which is the insurance fintech company. Boggling to watch this thing go. Again, short lifespan, but just keeps marching, hitting 136s, looks like today. So another just brand spanking fresh new high, going parabolic. Again, I don't want to chase this. We're just adding billions to the market cap as we go by in time. But this thing from November is trading 48. It's gone up threefold. Again, threefold in less than 2 months. Warning, just be careful. Be careful out there. This stuff is not new. You don't want to be chasing this stuff. Goldman back up today. Talked about it yesterday. Back up, test, and then high. This, again, this might be the test to sell. You got a really low risk entry up here. If you sell Goldman with, maybe a $5 stop, if it gets to 265, you're wrong. Or you sell some 265 calls. It's a cheap way to do it on a day like today where Goldman's up 4%, testing the high again. We talked about this yesterday.
Back to Charles Payne and Goldman and his tweet that this cabinet is the most diverse Goldman cabinet ever in the history of America. So I don't think that I say that sarcastically, but I don't. How do you not pay attention to that type of statement? That even though he says it sarcastically,
yep.
That there's some weight to that. That listen, we know that there is a mill of lobbying from the private sector to the public sector, right? And if the cabinet of the president of the United States is heavily loaded with Goldman alums, it's not even lobbying anymore.
Right. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about telemedicine, since that's so hot during COVID. One of our members was talking about Teladoc Health Network, which is it's a online, how to see your doctor online app that people are, it's finally getting its day in the sun. But one thing I'll say is this stock's been pretty solidly trading in a range, kind of that 160 to 250 range. So until that kind of changes, it's right in the middle of that here at 211. I'm not super jazzed about it. Probably we'll see some, resistance up here at 215. Again, but not a very bullish chart for me. And this should stay this way for quite a while, Bob. So
yeah, I completely agree, because I think of all things that if people could do easier, going to the frickin' doctor would be one thing that for sure is going to benefit. I mean, maybe.
And again, this move started happening well before. It's interesting. You could have bought this pre-COVID at 83. It's only gone up. If you want a stock that you could justify going up 10x, this would be one, just because that shift has happened from going to a physical meeting with your doctor and her staff versus, I've even had a couple of these, because most of my meetings, I'm just coming in and they're asking a couple questions and I'm leaving again. If it's follow up, for some other issues that I've had, it's not a very, it's not a well-used piece of their time on the professionals front either. So this is a very bullish chart. And again, as long as that 160 level holds, and again, back here in November, that was a good dip to buy. But now you're kind of in the middle. So do I love it at 211? No. But if you bought it at 260, or 160, any pullbacks that you get in here, maybe you get, back to 200, you could add to it. But again, difficult for me to chase this. I'm curious what you think on the momentum side.
What's the
TDOC?
Hold on a second, man. TDOC?
Yes.
Matt wants to know right now what a momentum player thinks. Right, Matt?
That's right.
Mind the Mo.
Mind the Mo.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, let me share here, because this again, here's the nuance. I'm going to talk some nuance here of standard deviation trading. Matt, it's a longer term 3-day chart. And the troublesome part of this chart is a downward sloping collar up there at 218. The flip side of that, though, is obviously on strong action, continued strong action, you're going to flip that band. It's in up momentum now. It just traded in up momentum on this 3-day, but it's going to get a little fight, an argument around 218. That doesn't mean that given some time, we can't shift it. And that's why it's so important for anything to go parabolic. You need to be making higher highs. You need to flip the band in the potential of that band in the direction that you want it to be, whether up or down. And if we fractal out to the weekly, how dead flat is that? Again, nothing parabolic about this on the longer term chart yet. Markets evolve, but these are the type of the nuances I'm looking at. I talked about 218 being the collar on the 3-day. 217.61 is the up momentum on the weekly. Again, it's going to be an argument point. Everybody that had sold this thing short in the hole, if it gets above that, they got to run for the hills, right? Yeah. Never fight momentum. I say that all the time. I hashtag that shit, Matt. Mind the Mo, because there's nothing carrying people out more than people that refuse to mind the mo. That's all I can say. Please mind the mo. Don't marry a terrible position. And the reason you know it's terrible, it's trading in the opposite momentum on whatever time fractal you're looking at than the opinion that you have or the position you have in the market. Mind the mo, folks. It's a simple one.
Hey, how's your Lululemon doing that your boy Jim Cramer was talking about last week?
Lulu on the weekly again. Look at how shitty this week is for it. It had a great explosive week last week. It never even sniffed out the highs of last week, right? And now fully rolling over. I talked about this again, how flat these bands are. Yep. Again, the only way this goes parabolic is if it can make new higher high every week. It ain't doing that. This is, right. I think somebody's soiling their leggings here. And if this continues, Lulu. We got a loaded diaper.
And one more for us on your bonds there, the ZBH right above.
Where is it?
Right above, 4 above, 5 above. Yep. I want to talk about bonds.
Yeah, this for sure is still, and let's go to the 3-day. It's minding the momentum. Look at all of these tests, but no closes back out of this lower momentum level now since 5 of October.
Very bearish.
But again, nothing closing out of that momentum level. You got this lower band now starting to kick down. For sure, here we talk, Matt, all the time about the relative health or sickness of a chart, or this does not look healthy, right? What is healthy about this chart? It's going lower. I see the trend. It cannot close out of lower momentum.
Right.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I am agreeing with you. Matter of fact, I think it's very bearish. It's a bearish position.
Now here's on the back to the daily, a perfect ping of that lower collar, right? And collapsing potentiality as we might expect going into a holiday, but still it looks like it's going to close back in lower momentum. Then if tomorrow we can make a lower low and start kicking that band lower, now you're talking about, deteriorating technicals the way I look at it, right? This patient is sick. It's ready to hit the table. If we start making lower lows, you better get the paddles out because, again, when we fractal out, there's tons of room to that lower collar on the weekly, right? 169.23. So that's what I'm seeing.
Let me get a quick look at that before we call it a holiday here, because I have a couple thoughts on that also.
Dude, your Michigan hat is lighting up glorious in the sunshine.
Well, Michigan is a basketball school, and this Christmas we have a battle against our second Big Ten battle against Nebraska for the season. 6-0, by the way, 6-0.
Go blue.
And the best recruiting class possibly next year already has signed on with Mr. Juwan Howard, who I'm really loving as a coach. And I love John Beilein. I was sad to see him go to the Cleveland program, and he only lasted half the year. So it was sad, it's really sad to see Beilein leave such a great college career. He was a great college coach. But I'm happy about having one of the, Fab Five leading the way, because he's a heck of a guy and he's a heck of a coach, and he's been there, done that. And, what more would you want for your son to come play college basketball, but to play with a gentleman like Juwan Howard, because he is a fine gentleman. Here's a story on the futures. The bonds, long looking, right? Back to March. We had the spike up to 191, never have come back, really crossed 182 after that, which is the top of this value. We are literally clinging, Bob. We've tested once, and I think you usually have to do it once or twice before they can probe through it. They got to trap the early shorts because they're all they see the same thing, but eventually they're going to be right. And this is the way I see it, and I think it's going to happen next year. We're going to continue to have a push upwards regardless of the Fed keeping rates solid and going zero, and hopefully not negative, but they're right there. But I think the market has its own, market's going to do what it's going to do regardless of the Fed. And I think we're going to see higher interest rates next year.
Yeah, there's a big giant hole to fill there. What's the low end of that value?
163. So
bingo. Bingo
And your
bongo.
and your 160 and your 169 is just the
Well,
low.
here's the thing. Here's the nuance of it, though, Matt. Here's the nuance of it. It's 169 now, but if we get lower trading,
Excuse me, COVID.
that potentiality is going to start shifting lower, right?
Right.
That band's going to kick lower, and inside of a couple of weeks, you probably have that full potentiality down to 163 on the standard deviation modeling. Matt, it's a lot like we make the reference all the time to baseball and hitters. Hitters get hot and hitters get cold, and when they get hot, you don't know how hot they're going to get. Like if a guy, is a lifetime 400 hitter, and he all of a sudden for a time he's batting 175. As he starts to hit again, how many games do you want to say he's not going to go 3 for 4? Like he's going to revert, man. He's going to get hot, maybe red hot, Matt, maybe red hot.
Well, the other thing to consider is these bonds took off February. They broke out at February 17th, which was right about the time that COVID was getting mainstreamed. It wasn't quite shutdown time. But so watch for signals here, because if this breaks down and breaks 69, it's going to tell you something bigger for the markets. Bonds are much bigger markets than the SPOs, right? And people don't know this, but there's a lot more money trading the ZN, the 10-year, and this product, the ZB, the shorter term bond. So there's a lot of people, there's way more money protecting portfolios in the bond market than there is anywhere else. So just be aware, these are the things, even as equity traders, if you're going to see higher interest rates, as I propose next year we will, this will have an effect on your stock portfolio performance. In other words, it'll be lower. Your stocks will be lower if interest rates go higher, because higher interest rates are safer options for the investor seeking return with less risk. It's as simple as that.
All right, Matt. It's the most wonderful time of the year, Matt. Thank you so much. And as we leave here, let me just bring this bracket or this graphic back up on consciousness. And my wish is for you to enjoy some higher levels of vibrational energy, Matthew, along the Christmas season and in through the new year and 2021. And I wish that for everybody, so please enjoy your consciousness and try to push it north. All right.
That's right.
We want to get into the green of neutrality. And actually, the courage is the first positive one, as far as I know from reading the book. Courage, like the cowardly. What do they got that I ain't got?
Where do I got the cowardly lion?
Courage. You could say that again. All right, Matt. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. I will talk to you.
Merry Christmas, Bobby.
Monday we will be
back here Monday.
Something, and we'll tweet it out. Oh, wait a second. Hold on a second before we go. Wrong one. Buying beers. How many beers you got? Wrong one. You know what? Where's that intern? Where's the intern? There it is. I want to let everybody know as we go, I will be hosting Jeremy Perlow, Pigs Fly Network, and part of Meet MD, our private group at marketvitals.io, 4:45 Eastern time today, to go over the quarterly pigs report, hog and pig report released by the USDA. Believe me, there is nobody that dissects fundamental data supplied by our great government quite like Jer does. He was in the hog pit. His badge was JAIR, Jer. So 4:45 today, I'll be streaming with Jer to go over the nuts and bolts of pigs on the ground, pigs coming to be on the ground, all things pigs from the hog and pig report from the USDA, which comes out this afternoon. Got to give him some time to digest it, but I will be streaming with Jeremy later today. So please look out for that stream, join it, ask questions, and we will go from there. Thank you, Matt.
Hey, Bobby, Merry Christmas. We'll see you over the weekend.
I appreciate it. Peace.